Since I am being asked all too frequently by music creators why they cannot get any decent traction on social media, I thought I'd make a short Mythbuster video to address the main pain points rather than have the same conversations again and again. So let's get right to it. How does social media work best for musicians? I'm going to be generalizing and throwing everything social media into one bucket for the sake of making an argument. But I'm obviously aware that the various organizations, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and so on, all work slightly differently and focus on different types of content. However, in essence, what unites them is the term social. And that's one of the main misunderstandings by users who have a somewhat hybrid approach to these platforms. Also, to get it off my chest, I'm not a particular fan of social media, but it is a valuable tool in the ecosystem of ARM, audience relationship management. So I think we can all agree that going completely without it for a musician is not really recommended. All of what we consider social media are in fact, yes, advertisement platforms, but only if you're willing to spend money. And even then, unless you keep a firm eye on your return on investment and work out some objectives and goals you want to meet over time, it can be very much hit and miss. And in any case, that's not really what I want to focus on today. I want to focus on organic success on social media. And right out of the gate, let's make one thing really clear. There is no magic bullet, and you will have to invest a little bit of your own time. If it becomes a chore, don't do it. If you're not interested in what other people, your audience and peers are sharing, don't do it. If you only want to talk about yourself, don't do it. So let's say you have close to 2,000 friends on your Facebook profile, a little over 5,000 fans on your page, and similar numbers across Twitter and Instagram. Great. So why don't you just log in every time you have something to sell or promote, post it and log out again. Job done. At the end of the day, you really don't want to waste your precious time looking at other people's cat videos. Imagine you're at a garden party. You know the host maybe and a handful of other people at best. You mingle, people are standing in small groups, drinks in hands, chit-chatting away. If all you'd ever do is join a conversation by talking about yourself and your latest projects, how amazing your new recording is, and tell people where to purchase tickets for your next gig, and as soon as somebody else starts talking and sharing one of their own stories, you just walk away. How fast do you think invitations to parties will dwindle away over the summer? That's exactly how Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter rightly treat such users. You're not entitled to being seen, and your content will ultimately disappear from everyone's radar or feed because you are clearly not interested in the social game and in other people and are unwilling to reciprocate the engagement you expect for your own amazing news. Even more so, social media organizations are no party hosts. In terms of content visibility and promotion, they are quite egalitarian. You might consider your album cover to be a more impressive photo than Paul's dinner plate. But if Paul has been active on social media, has occasionally shared and commented on his friends' holiday snaps and posted congratulations for his bandmate's Grammy nomination, then it's likely that his dinner plate will be seen by quite a few more people than your album cover if that's your only social media activity in weeks. This thing called algorithm rewards connectivity and engagement in both directions. No matter how many friends and fans you have on paper or on screen, most of them won't even get to see it if the algorithm regards you as a one-dimensional party guest. It might sound unfair because it forces you to make more of an effort to consume other people's stuff, but remember you're not entitled to attention, and in that respect it's actually quite similar to real life. Collecting email data can take time, and an individual's hurdle to submitting their email address is considerably higher than hitting a like or follow button. No problem, you might think. I've got all those thousands of connections. Why don't I just tag everyone in my posts whenever I have something to shout about, so they get a nudge and will definitely see it. That way I get the attention I want. Sure, you could do that, and occasionally tagging friends because they are in a photo or deserve credit for their involvement in something cool is justified. But tagging for attention, let's imagine what that looks like, or more importantly, what that makes you look like. You're being the garden party guest who approaches people, asking them to gather around you, tipping them on the shoulders, saying, "Hey, Annabelle, Carl, Lisa, come over, I've got something important to share and I'm sure you'll appreciate the notification." And then you're telling them, your congregation, about your upcoming tour. No doubt most people will graciously thank you for the heads up. Some might even be glad you told them, especially as they might have otherwise missed it. But a substantial number of them will feel silently annoyed. And if everybody used this method, we'd be unfriending and unliking in droves, because you're using the mechanic of email in an environment that's built around the user's control of what's important to them and what they want to hear about. Therefore, to unleash the power of personalized direct communication with your most valuable friends, fans, and supporters, do take care of collecting email data and maintaining that data well. It will have longevity and consist of people who really want to hear from you directly. Your social media channel is not replacing your mailing list, so don't abuse it. An obvious remedy for your natural lack of time and understandable lack of genuine interest, I really mean that, in engaging too deeply with social media, is to outsource that entire element of your marketing activity. There are many social media experts around, often industry and genre natives, content creators and consultants. Most of them will have a decent understanding of platform tricks of the trade, maximizing ad spend, content that works best, and publication frequencies. However, they all have one particular disadvantage. They are not you. Even though a brand, a company, a popular consumer product also has an established identity, it is reasonably detached from the individuals who are employed to be dealing with their social media presence, creating their content, engaging with followers and pushing sales. But at the end of the day, nobody expects to be talking directly to a pair of Adidas sneakers. As a musician, a creative personality, you are an amalgamation of the brand, the product, and the sole human being behind your creations. You are on stage and off stage, and everything you do, again I'm generalizing, comes from your humanity. Since we're all working in an artistic creative space, it is highly driven by emotionality, both of the creator, you, and your audience. It's therefore one of the key components of a successful social media presence for you, the artist, to show yourself. This is a universal phenomenon across all social channels, that the more you show of your humanity, your personality, your sometimes unpolished output, your spontaneity and wit, the more you engage your genuine audience. There's an excitement in knowing that a tweet or a wobbly bit of backstage footage actually came from the artist's own hands. That a thought that was shared about an everyday issue that concerns us all was expressed by the artists themselves, not their employed marketing team. Being in closer connection with a musician we admire because they make us feel a certain way when we see them on stage or listen to their records is what attracts fans to follow them and not Sony Music. There's no need to become a political activist now or nail your flag to a divisive issue regardless of how strongly you might feel about it. Needless to say, though, that you can and often you should, but remember that you are in control of how far you want to take your followers down the road of what makes you tick. Showing yourself and learning how to be more comfortable with sharing imperfect glimpses of your creative process, your takes on life and your quirky habits can have an incredibly positive impact on the engagement with all of your social output. I know this is probably the steepest learning curve and will require you to let go of some vanities and insecurities, yet the most impactful artists on social media are those who have managed to be themselves. I want to end with an idea that somehow summarizes the points I've made so far. Two common sentiments and psychologically proven aspects of the social media world are showing off and jealousy. After having worked with jazz musicians for almost 20 years now, I have met some of the most generous and supportive people ever. But we are also human beings, and as I said before, artists are their own brands and products. So you're instinctively gravitating to protecting your own work, and too often view even the most admired peers as competitors. This is not necessarily rooted in jealousy. Sometimes the decision against sharing somebody else's work comes from the expectation that it might distract from what you have to sell. Let's put that idea right back into the bin. By supporting and promoting other artists' work, even and especially if it's not meant to reflect on you and your own involvement, you are inspiring audiences to broaden their horizon. You are showing yourself for being inspired and gracefully appreciating your peers' work. You are engaging with other users and their content. You are applauding achievements, even if you feel that they are out of your own reach. And you are leading by example. Because there will be some, certainly not all, but some other fellow musicians taking your lead and discovering that the community benefits from spreading the word rather than just blowing our own trumpet all the time. None of this should be regarded as a blueprint for winning the social media game as a musician. A few of you might prefer to quit these platforms altogether, or be selective and choose the channel you're most comfortable with and that allows you to express yourself best and where you enjoy engaging with others. I advise most of my clients to concentrate on email data, maintaining a healthy, engaged database and building on the longevity of direct communication with fans that outlasts social media fluctuation. But if you are keen to make Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and any other up-and-coming platforms work in your favor without spending too much of your cash, maybe these points give you a good understanding of how it can be done.